Have you ever felt lost, carrying a weight on your heart that no one else seems to notice? What if one simple message could change the way you see your life, your pain, and your purpose? Listen closely, for this message is not just words, it is a lifeline for the soul. The power of forgiveness. There is a weight that so many carry quietly. A weight that is invisible to the world, but felt deeply in the heart. It comes from grudges, from old wounds, from the memories of hurt that linger longer than they should. Every time the mind recalls a betrayal, every time the heart remembers an insult, the burden grows heavier, pressing down on the soul in ways that no one else can see. And yet, there is a message, simple but profound, that can set that heart free. Forgiveness. Forgiveness is not a suggestion. It is a gift you give yourself. So often, the mind confuses forgiveness with weakness, as if forgive means letting others escape the consequences of their actions. But true forgiveness is not for them, it is for you. It is a conscious decision to release the grip of anger, to stop allowing bitterness to define your days. Every moment spent holding on to resentment is a moment stolen from joy, from peace, from the quiet contentment that is always available, if the heart is willing to open. Think of the heart of the garden. When unforgiveness takes root, it grows like weeds, spreading across every part of the soul. These weeds choke the flowers of love, gratitude, and hope. They may seem small at first, easy to ignore, but left unchecked, they will overtake the entire garden. And yet, when forgiveness is planted, it begins as a tiny seed. It may seem fragile, almost insignificant, but with intention, it grows into something strong, something that transforms the entire landscape of the soul. The act of forgiving is like watering this seed. Every time you choose to let go, every time you release a memory of pain, the seed grows stronger. And eventually, it blooms into a freedom that feels miraculous, as if the chains around your heart have been broken and the soul is able to breathe again. Forgiveness also has a way of softening the edges of the human experience. It reminds us that everyone is imperfect, that everyone is struggling in ways we may not fully understand. When we hold on to anger, we often do so because we want the world to be fair, because we want the person who hurt us to feel the same pain we felt. But the truth is that fairness is a human concept, and justice in the truest sense is found in compassion and mercy. To forgive is to acknowledge that no one is perfect, that we all stumble, that we all hurt and are hurt in return. And in this acknowledgement, the heart finds humility, and humility opens the door to healing. There is also a transformative power in forgiveness that goes beyond the individual. When a heart forgives, it sends ripples outward, touching the lives of those around it. Families are healed, friendships are restored, communities are softened. A single act of forgiveness can change the atmosphere of an entire household, can shift the energy in a room, can inspire others to consider their own capacity to release bitterness. And yet, it begins with one person, with one choice, with one heart, daring to believe that freedom is possible even after being wronged. Forgiveness does not erase the past. It does not make what happened acceptable, and it does not require forgetting the lessons that life has taught. It is not pretending that the pain never existed. Instead, it is a conscious declaration that the past will no longer dictate the present, that the heart will no longer be held hostage by memories of hurt. It is saying, I will not allow this wound to define me. I will not allow this pain to consume the love that is still within me. And perhaps the most beautiful truth of all is that forgiveness allows the heart to experience love in its purest form. When anger and resentment are removed, there is space for tenderness, for compassion, for the quiet joy of being alive. A forgiving heart sees the world not through the lens of what has been done to it, but through the lens of what is possible, through the lens of grace. It is in this space that miracles quietly occur, not grand spectacles, but subtle shifts of understanding, unexpected moments of peace, and a deep, unshakable sense of freedom that the soul recognizes as sacred. Forgiveness is a journey, often longer and more difficult than we expect. It asks the heart to face the pain, to acknowledge the hurt, to sit with discomfort without lashing out or retreating. It requires courage, patience, and a willingness to trust that releasing the past will not leave the soul empty, but will fill it with light and life. Each step toward forgiveness is a step toward liberation, a step toward becoming the truest version of oneself. And in this journey, the heart learns to hold itself gently, to honor its own pain, while choosing to let go, to embrace its own humanity while extending compassion to others. The beauty of humility. There is a quiet power in those who walk the earth with humility, a strength that does not demand attention, a light that does not boast. In a world that celebrates noise, recognition, and the outward signs of success, humility may seem almost invisible, almost weak. Yet it is in the humble heart that the truest form of greatness is found. True humility is not about thinking less of oneself. It is about thinking less of the need to be thought of, about letting go of pride, and about choosing to serve without expectation, to love without demand, and to act without seeking reward. Humility begins with awareness, a deep, honest awareness of one's own limitations, of the fact that perfection is a mirage, and that everyone carries their own struggles, secrets, and flaws. It is the recognition that no matter how much knowledge we gather, no matter how many achievements we claim, we are still learners, still travelers on a path that is larger than ourselves. In this recognition, the heart softens, the ego quiets, and the soul becomes open to connection with others. Humility allows a person to see beyond themselves, to look into the lives of others with judgment, and to respond with kindness and compassion rather than comparison or competition. There's also a profound courage in humility. It takes bravery to step into the world without the armor of ego, without the shield of self-importance, without the masks we wear to appear more than we are. To be humble is to risk being overlooked, to risk being misunderstood, to risk vulnerability. Yet within that vulnerability is freedom, for the humble heart is not trapped by the fear of what others think. It is free to act in alignment with what is right, to speak the truth with gentleness, to offer love without calculation. The strength of humility lies not in assertion, but in authenticity, and it is a strength that touches lives quietly but deeply. Humility is also the soil in which empathy grows. When a person understands their own imperfections, they are more capable of understanding the imperfections of others. They can see the struggles that are hidden behind smiles, the fear that lie beneath courage, and the pain that hides beneath pride. In this understanding, compassion flows naturally without effort or expectation. A humble heart listens before it judges, offers support before it criticizes, and embraces others without demanding they meet conditions. It is a heart that gives freely because it knows the joy of giving is greater than the reward, and it knows that every act of kindness, no matter how small, can ripple outward in ways unseen but powerful. There is also a beauty in humility that comes from freedom. The humble are not bound by the need to prove themselves, to win arguments, or to control outcomes. They are free to observe, to learn, to grow, and to respond to life with grace. In humility there is a serenity that cannot be found in pride, for pride is restless, constantly comparing, constantly defending, constantly striving to maintain its image. Humility, by contrast, rests in truth, in the understanding that life is not about appearances, but about the depth of the heart, the integrity of actions, and love we extend to others. Humility transforms relationships. When a heart approaches others without ego, without expectation, without judgment, connections deepen naturally. Friendships flourish. Families find harmony, and communities are strengthened. The humble do not seek to dominate conversations or claim credit. They listen, they support, and they empower. They create spaces where others feel safe, valued, and seen. And in this space, trust is built, understanding grows, and love is allowed to flourish in its most authentic form. True humility also invites learning. The humble are always open to new perspectives, always willing to admit mistakes, always ready to be guided by wisdom greater than their own. They do not fear correction, because they understand that growth comes from openness, not stubbornness, from reflection, not resistance. In this way, humility becomes a path to wisdom, a pathway to seeing life not only as it appears, but as it truly is, with all its beauty, all its pain, and all its opportunity for grace. And perhaps the most radiant quality of humility is that it does not seek recognition. Its beauty lies in its quietness, in the way it impacts the world without announcing itself. A humble heart shines not because it demands attention, but because it allows the light within to reach others. Every act of service, every word spoken with kindness, every moment of patience and understanding becomes a reflection of this inner beauty. Humility is a silent revolution, a gentle force that transforms hearts, touches lives, and quietly reshapes the world through love, understanding, and the profound truth that greatness is not in what we possess, but in how we choose to live the promise of hope. There are moments in life when the world feels unbearably heavy, when the weight of sorrow, uncertainty, and fear presses so hard upon the heart that it seems impossible to breathe. In these moments, it is easy to believe that light has left the world, that joy has vanished, and that hope is nothing more than a distant memory. Yet, even in the darkest nights, there is a quiet whisper that lingers, a promise that speaks to the heart and says, do not give up. There's more to this story than what you see. There is a light that has not been extinguished. Hope is not a fleeting thought or a wishful desire. It is a living, breathing force that carries the soul through despair, that lifts the spirit even when the path ahead is unclear, and that reminds every heart that life, no matter how painful, holds beauty, purpose, and the possibility of renewal. Hope begins with belief, not necessarily in grand miracles or sudden changes, but in the quiet assurance that the present moment is not the final measure of life. It is the understanding that storms pass, that wounds heal, and that even the smallest actions, when done with love and faith, can transform the course of a day, a relationship, or even a life. When a heart embraces hope, it begins to see possibilities where there were once only obstacles, to find light where there was once only shadow, and to hear guidance where there was once only silence. Hope does not remove difficulty, but it equips the heart with resilience, patience, and courage to face challenges with strength and grace. There is a transformative power in hope that goes beyond mere optimism. Hope teaches endurance, the ability to hold on when everything inside screams to let go. It teaches trust, the willingness to believe that unseen forces are working in ways the mind cannot always understand. It teaches perspective, reminding the heart that pain, though real and significant, is not the entirety of existence. Those who carry hope do not ignore suffering. Rather, they see beyond it. They recognize that life is a tapestry woven with both light and dark threads, and that even the darkest strands serve a purpose in shaping the beauty of the whole. Hope also opens the heart to connection. When a person chooses to live with hope, they begin to see others not as obstacles, threats, or rivals, but as companions on a journey filled with shared struggles and shared joys. Hope softens judgment, fosters empathy, and encourages acts of kindness and support. A hopeful heart reaches out to others in ways that inspire courage, comfort pain, and remind those around them that they are not alone. Even a small gesture, a kind word, or a moment of understanding can carry the message of hope across barriers of despair, planting seeds that grow quietly, persistently, and powerfully over time. Hope is also a call to action. It is not passive. It does not wait for miracles to arrive, but moves forward with faith, with purpose, and with determination. Those who carry hope do not surrender to fear or apathy. Instead, they take steps, no matter how small, toward healing, toward love, toward growth. They persist in the face of uncertainty, trusting that each effort matters, that each act of courage matters, and that each day holds the potential for transformation. In this way, hope becomes a guiding force, a compass for the heart, directing energy, attention, and intention toward what is meaningful and true. Perhaps the most profound aspect of hope is its ability to touch the soul on the deepest level. When the heart is weary, hope whispers that there is still beauty to behold, still dreams to pursue, still love to give and receive. It reminds the soul that suffering is temporary, that life's lessons, though sometimes harsh, carry wisdom, and that even after the deepest loss, joy can return in forms that are unexpected, tender, and life-affirming. Hope invites the heart to trust in the unseen, to believe in the potential of tomorrow, and to hold fast to the knowledge that the journey of life, though sometimes painful, is also filled with purpose, grace, and the quiet presence of a love that never abandons. Living with hope transforms the way a person experiences life. It turns obstacles into opportunities for growth, challenges into lessons for strength, and moments of despair into openings for renewal. A heart filled with hope approaches each day with curiosity, courage, and compassion. It sees that even in the midst of suffering, there are reasons to be grateful, that even in uncertainty, there are signs of guidance, and that even in isolation, there is the potential for connection and understanding. Hope becomes a light within the heart, steady, unwavering, and luminous, illuminating path that once seemed impossible to navigate.